Hi, my name is Rachel Miller, and my group and I will be presenting our design project, VolunteerSpot. This work was completed with Rachel Dennis, Dania Najjar, and Melody Haak. When given the gratitude prompt, we immediately had multiple different ideas of how we could implement this into our daily lives in a way that was beneficial. We believe that one of the best ways to express gratitude is through community service. However, we found that college students especially find it difficult to access service opportunities, especially when busy with school, working, and extracurricular activities. This led us to question how we could make community service not only more accessible to students, but also more exciting and rewarding in an attempt to increase charitable giving and participation. We developed the idea for an application that allows users to filter through volunteer opportunities based on location, interest, availability, and other factors. Seeing as all of us in the team are involved with extracurricular activities that incorporate community service, we had the advantage of acting as both the designers and also potential users of this product. Here we see some of the initial storyboards that were created to pitch how this application would be used specifically to the college-age community. When looking at competitors, we found that there are a few other organizations that have created websites and corresponding applications in the realm of community service. We did an analysis of these and compared our goals with what they already provide. Overall, we found that though these applications did have some similar features to our own idea, they were missing key details that we deemed important to our project. It was at this stage we determined nonprofit representation would be required for our application to fully succeed. From our competitors, we saw that frequently nonprofit information and available opportunities were out of date, inaccurate, or missing altogether. This is what led us to decide that there would be two sides to VolunteerSpot, a volunteer platform and a nonprofit platform.
In the process of conducting our user research, we interviewed a wide range of 8 individuals. 6 were local students who volunteer, and 2 worked for a local nonprofit organizations. Their responses helped to provide our group clarity in regards to which direction we plan on steering our project. We pulled out a series of quotes that best fill each one of these categories and are suitable to the students' needs. By organizing our research by category, we could better understand how to narrow down what students would find the most helpful and useful. After completing our interviews, we decided to section out and summarize the quotes we pinpointed during the process. Overall, these quotes led us to figuring out which features students would find the most useful on a service-oriented app.
To personify our research, we created primary and secondary personas. Each persona represents an ideal user. In this example, one of our users is a college student who volunteers to complete and log service hours within her organization, and another is a student who is employed by a nonprofit. These two users seem similar, but they have different motivations. Jennifer is very new to service, and she struggles to find opportunities that interest her. Melissa is experienced as she is the community engagement chair in her fraternity, but has problems with scheduling. Both of them would like to find a service that helps them keep track of how many hours they've completed. We also decided to create user journey maps. These maps assume the role of the user and allow us to determine how the user will navigate through our prototype. We created 2 of these, each person having a different end goal as well. In this case, Sarah's goal is to complete 20 service hours for her organization. She's a pretty involved person, so if she were to use VolunteerSpot, she would enjoy our filtering feature that allows her to find opportunities in close proximity to her and at the time she prefers. In our second user journey map, we have a different person. Tim is not a student. He works for a local food drive in the area and needs local volunteers. If Tim were to use VolunteerSpot, he'd be excited to use the posting and messaging features because his goals are to share service opportunities and communicate more effectively with his volunteers. Using these maps, we were able to come up with some goals and expectations from each user's perspective. From there, we brainstormed some opportunities for design requirements.
Overall, based on each of the responses we received from students, we conducted that creating an app would help guide and give students an even greater variety of options for service hours. Beyond our main audience, this app would allow for members of service-oriented organizations to reach a larger audience. The goal of the app is to minimize the difficulties that students and volunteers all around face in regards to signing up for volunteer work on one platform rather than having to dive into multiple outlets or platforms to seek out volunteer work. Following our user research, we took our findings and brainstormed some design requirements we found would be the most useful when creating the prototype for our app. A few of these included a messaging system, a feed of local opportunities near a volunteer, and a way to filter them out by interest. For organizations, we wanted to have a way to post opportunities that would also be able to receive constructive feedback. through volunteer reviews, which would be open for the organizations and volunteers to see and respond to.
After knowing what functions to include in our design requirements, our main focus with our low-fidelity prototype was organizing them into each side of the app, volunteer or organization. We then organized our menu bar to separate our design requirement features such as filtering, the message board, profiles, and job postings. For our low-fidelity testing, we had 8 individuals run through our prototype. We then assigned them to either the volunteer role or the organization role and had them each complete 3 tasks. We asked our participants to speak aloud, narrate their actions, and describe any difficulties they encountered. Our 4 testers serving as volunteers had to create an account, sign up for a volunteer position, and leave a review for an organization. Our 4 testers serving as organizations had to create an account, create a service opportunity post, and message a volunteer to say thank you.
Overall, we received great feedback for our design elements, but ran into some issues based on accessibility. An important part of the feedback we received from our low-fidelity prototype was that we needed to add more confirmation so that users knew when they were completing a task. We also worked on making our buttons larger and more clickable. Once we fixed those, we were able to have fun with our prototype, adding color, essential typeface, and detailed information to it.
The main changes we made to the high-fidelity prototype were technical changes that were recommended in our low-fidelity testing. However, once we created our high-fidelity prototype, we wanted to ensure that our main goals were portrayed. Firstly, we wanted our app to be convenient for the users, so we have a feed based on local opportunities for our volunteers. Next, we wanted our app to allow users to explore options based on preferences, which we achieved through our filtered search. We also wanted users to be able to keep track of progress, which is allowed through the organization's calendar feature and on our volunteers' profile under the previous jobs section. Above all else, we wanted our users to be able to express gratitude, which is achieved through our review feature and our messaging center. We also tried to emphasize this through all of our pages, as gratitude and being able to give back is of the utmost importance to both our volunteers and nonprofits. For high-fidelity testing, we had our users complete the same core tasks as our low-fidelity testing and narrate the process. We then calculated the number of problems each participant faced and calculated them into an SUS score of 86.03. Most of the usability failures had to do with the age of the participant and their unfamiliarity with technology in general. However, for our participants in the target audience for our application, we had many partial successes or successes. One user said, "As soon as this app is up and running, let me know. I would love to use this for finding future service opportunities."
Following the last round of user testing, we consolidated our feedback and decided upon the aspects of the application we would continue to work on into the future. The main criticism we received seemed to be that the prototype was not a complete app. We were also told that we could better exhibit our location services by showing a map with service opportunities rather than having a list of nearby organizations.
That concludes the work we have done so far for our application, VolunteerSpot. Feel free to scan the QR code on the left to view our high-fidelity prototype. At this time, we'd like to thank our wonderful professor, Chen Guo, for making this all happen, and for the participants of our research and user testing. We'd also like to thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation, and we hope that you feel a great sense of gratitude was tied into our concept just as much as we aimed for.